Hello, everybody. Welcome to another show of Nadi Digital Economy Malaysia. My name is Karamjit. With me is my colleague Dzof, Azmi. We're going to get straight into it. And look, the Bank Negara and SC, Securities Commission annual reports were released on the same day. And I'm going to let Dzof take the lead with this because there's a lot to unpack. And also, I think we're probably only going to be able to talk about 3 stories at most, and we're going to do a 30-second wrap of maybe 2 more stories after that. Dzof?
Well, the thing was we thought that maybe perhaps Bank Negara would announce the digital banking licenses this week, and that would be the story of the week, right?
Yes.
But not the case, unfortunately. What Bank Negara did say was the governor said that they will make the announcement, but only after the completion of the legal process. And as far as we can see, she didn't really elaborate what legal process meant. But it's maybe next week, Kara. Maybe next week.
It's the word legal process is like what's the term? Obfuscation of the real reason. So of course people are going to be like cynics are going to say, hey, when a legal process, you mean you didn't know this beforehand when you announced, right, that you're likely going to announce it in March. So it just leaves people wondering all the maneuvering going on in the background, right? And whether then there could be the political hand influencing the determination of some of the licenses, because obviously the government of the day wants to carry favor with certain parties, right, or certain groups of interested constituents, right, aligned to some of these licenses, some of these submissions of submissions, right, to get a digital banking license. So all that will go on in the background, but we leave that aside because I think there's still a lot of interesting things to unpack. And Dzof, just share some of your key highlight takeaways, and then I'll jump in with some thoughts.
Well, the report has like 189 pages, so we won't obviously delve into each and everything there. But of course, one thing that caught my eye was this. From the Securities Commission, they announced that digital asset markets trading value in 2021 was 21 billion ringgit. That means of the 4 digital assets exchanges that are licensed in Malaysia, the trade in digital assets reached 21 billion ringgit, which is actually a phenomenally high number, right, Karam?
Mighty fine number indeed. Yeah.
And it shows at least that there was high interest. As we know, over the last 2 years, the interest in things like cryptocurrency has increased worldwide, right? Not just in Malaysia. And because the licensed digital asset exchanges are the legal way of doing it,
yes,
you sort of assume that perhaps there might be some sort of shadow market. People are trading in digital assets outside of these official 4 exchanges, but still within just the 4 asset exchanges is 21 billion. And actually Securities Commission were quite, shall we say, bullish about the whole thing, because they also said things like that they felt that the recognized market operators have an quote adequate understanding of money laundering risks and cyber risk obligations, and they're very positive about it. They did say that the board and senior management should hold greater accountability, but it's sort of like on the one hand, yes, we know you understand it. On the other hand, well, here's how we can do it better, right? So that's great. And then they're also very optimistic when they say that they feel that regulatory certainty can help the markets grow. So this is all positive news. But then on the other hand, when Bank Negara talked about digital assets, they raised concerns. They raised concerns of how digital assets could impact the banking landscape in Malaysia. And they said many things, but let's just take one example, right? So if, for example, they said if digital asset is used for payments instead of currency, it would, and something they call digital dollarization. The Bank Negara governor said that this might undermine the efficacy of the bank's monetary policy, because the bank's monetary policy is solely based on, well, Malaysian ringgit, right, and recognized fiat currency, right? So if people start paying for these things using cryptocurrency, for example, and sort of under or evading or avoiding or not just utilizing recognized fiat currency, then suddenly what is the point of, all these policies you've put in place for Ringgit Malaysia, suddenly, like, it it has to be relooked again, right? The other thing is, of course, if people start saving their money in digital assets instead of in a bank, then the banks would have less money.
Yeah.
And then
True.
the banks can do less, because they need that money to do the other work that banks do. So these are things that were highlighted as being potential areas for concern. I don't know, Karam, it's not a paradox, right? On the one hand, that some parties are very excited about the future of digital assets in Malaysia. On the other hand, people are saying, hang on, let's not get too excited about it.
No, it's not, because a lot of these are the early adopters, right? And those who can afford to take risks, because you've got to be you got to have an appetite for risk if you want to invest in digital assets. And actually, I'm quite impressed that about almost 800,000 accounts, right? They're almost in across the 4 exchanges, right? There are almost 800,000 accounts, and imagine in 2020 it was about just under 200,000. So it's a 3x growth, which is mightily impressive.
It's huge.
Yeah, and
I mean, there's a lot of accounts.
A lot of accounts, yeah, and this is happening while nobody will ever tell you that digital assets and you talk about cryptocurrencies are stable. Okay, you cannot use the word stable, although there's this term stable coin there. There is nothing stable about the crypto world, right? Which is kind of insane. So you got to have risk appetite, and these are really the people who got risk appetite. And I suspect some people, because you can obviously just get a fraction, right, of a cryptocurrency. So you don't have to buy a full Bitcoin. You can buy a fraction. You could pay 2,000 ringgit and own that fraction, right, of a Bitcoin. And I get the feeling that some people are doing it just to say that, yeah, I'm invested in cryptocurrency, because I guarantee when you say that, you're going to get a wow, really? And then you hey, how much you invest? No, I cannot tell. I got I made money. Wow. I'm saying that because I know somebody who's doing that. Okay, so I say, oh my God, you're really milking it to look cool. Okay. So how many of these 760,000 are trying to do it to look cool? I have no idea. But the fact is that the 21 billion ringgit is a mightily impressive amount. And you want to look forward to see whether it doubles or triples at the end of this year. So the next March, right, when the report comes out, if it suddenly goes to like 50 billion or 60 billion, then you got to sit down and say, hey, okay, I think this is now moving from those who have got a high risk appetite to the people, in the maybe the middle class also, right, who say, hey, maybe I put some money in that. But it is still just betting on it going up, right? No SME is going to start taking it. When I say no SME, maybe 1 or 2 or 10 may say so, again, for the cool factor. But you won't see hundreds or thousands of SMEs saying next year we're going to accept, digital assets, right, in payment. It's not
I'm not,
and I can bet my treasure on that. How about that?
I mean, if you go to a pasar malam, right, I think you'll be lucky to find one guy that would say I would accept payment and I did see that. I did see that one guy last year during the Bazaar Ramadan that he said he would accept Bitcoin for his burgers.
So the Ramadan bazaars are coming again. Let's see if you see 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So that may be a small little microcosm of the move to accept more, right? Never know. And by the way, I think Bank Negara missed a huge opportunity for branding. Instead of sharing their concern about the widespread usage of digital assets, right, for payments leading to currency substitution, they say akin to digital dollarization. I would have called it the digital ringgitization. You heard it here first on Nadi.
It's funny because my daughter always, if I say something costs $10, my daughter's very quick to say, you mean 10 ringgit, daddy, right? I mean, she's always very quick to point that out to me.
Of course.
Okay. The others amongst the other announcements, and this is related again to digital assets, is Bank Negara made it quite clear to say that they would not issue a central bank digital currency, and issue in the sense that make available digital currency for the general public as a retail product, right? Rather than, but what they are doing is they're using digital currencies to explore, for example, the example is Project Dunbar, right? Where they're using a digital currency to explore how you can make payment applications, cross-border payment applications with different countries. And I think Singapore is involved, Australia is involved, South Africa is involved, Switzerland is involved, I think. So It's not that they're against
Yeah,
digital currency,
correct.
but only with very specific goals and objectives in mind.
Yeah.
And the last thing I want to say, which caught my attention, was that Bank Negara says that they're working with MOF and Securities Commission to try to regulate the buy now, pay later
Yes.
schemes, right? So now when you go online, you want to buy something online, you see, well, you don't have to pay now. You can, get your product, pay within 30 days. And then if you don't pay within 30 days, you have to pay some fee or something, Karam.
So, but anyway, this is good that Bank Negara's got its eyes on this space. Hey, let's talk about SE. SE has a report, and it's something very interesting, right? You want to lead off on that, Dzof? About the digital, about the fact that they think that I think just about regulation, right? They use the experience of how.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so this because it sounds as if they're quite pleased with how the digital asset exchange licensing thing has been going, right? And they introduce things like potential for ICOs and stuff like that. And what they said was, quote, "From our experience over the past year, looking how we first introduced ECF and P2P framework, we have seen the introduction of some certainties into regulatory parameters, and the market was able to grow." So because you have introduced this regulatory certainty, right, that you're saying, here, we're regulating this, you can trust this, people have then invested in the market and they've developed the market. I mean, I think we would agree with that, right, Karam? That this generally more certainty that the government is backing this means more likely that somebody would spend time to try to create products and improve things and invest in it.
Yeah, but I think so. What's interesting here is that the SC has seen, right, when you have a hot trend, ECF, P2P, if you have regulations around it, it can help grow the market despite the regulations, because it gives people certainty. And I think if you talk to Elaine Lokman of Atta Plus and Sam Shafi, right, of Pitchin, they will say that the certainty has given investors, a peace of mind that they can come into this space and exploit and put their money down on this, right? But having said that, I think Securities Commission has laid down regulations at a threshold level that they are comfortable with. And I think if you want to talk about now these digital asset exchanges, although you can see that it has gone up to 21 billion, right, in this space, I think, and especially if they want to do something around the NFT space, and even in digital assets, I think when they come up with, if they want to like relook the regulations for digital assets or create regulations for NFT, it would be good if they can come up with two tier of regulations. One that is closer to what the industry players would like, okay? Which means that the regulator, even Bank Negara or even SC, right, will be a bit uncomfortable wanting to do that, but it is your entrepreneurs who are making the markets for this, who say, hey, we think this can work, and we will make sure that, we execute well so that, the risk you're afraid of will not happen. We'll do our due diligence, right? Put in our consumer education and all that stuff, right? To make sure that the market can grow in a structured and aggressive manner, but with nobody, getting ripped off, or nobody saying, hey, I thought this was this and this has happened, right? I think if the SC can do that, and on condition, on condition that, okay, we'll give you what we want. We are really not comfortable with this, but if you think this can help the market grow faster and you think the consumers are already fine, but if anything happens that triggers our red light, right, and they say, hey, no, we think we've given you a chance, we're going to fall back on what we are comfortable with, fine. So at least the players in the market know that this could happen if they don't execute almost flawlessly, I think SE should be a bit uncomfortable in the next set of regulations it comes out with, because then you can get the market to grow faster. And this is not about us, being faster than Malta or Gibraltar or, or El Salvador, a horrible example, forget about El Salvador, or about Singapore or Hong Kong, right? This is just about saying that we know what can work, but okay, let us be a bit uncomfortable and do this. And plan B is we fall back on what we are comfortable with, and just let the entrepreneurs run with it so they got a bit more leeway.
I mean, certainly whenever you engage SC or get feedback from them or conversation, they're always talking about their concern about risk to your average, what I call the uncle and auntie investor, right? Which, I'm sure they use a more sophisticated term than that.
Risk averse, but highly risk averse. Highly risk averse, white hair, white beard.
I think what you're saying, Karam, is that it's a bit tough to get a one solution that fits all, right?
Yeah,
That it fits your basic, oh, this sounds interesting. I wonder what it's like level of investor and the more sophisticated investor. So maybe you're looking like in ECF, you have your various different levels, right? So you come in as a personal investor, you are capped at so much that you can, and then if you come in as an angel investor, you can invest some more. Yeah, I mean that makes some sense, and you want the industry to grow, and you want the industry to feel that they have room to play and differentiate themselves.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely. Yeah.
All right. So from one national concern, Karam, shall we move to a different national concern?
Move to the hottest topic in town, and it's not 5G, and it is the hottest company in town. Hottest company in town also.
Yes. So you're talking about MySejahtera, and I don't think you can avoid seeing it in the news this week, right? And it actually, the story broke last Saturday, and before we recorded, I did say, is this something we want to talk about? And you said, well, I mean, you said, let's see what happens, right? Because there's a lot of speculation even then last Saturday.
Yes.
And in between, a lot of that speculation has turned into solid statements by the Minister of Health in the Dewan Negara. But Karam, tell me, is this something that is a cause for concern by the public? Or is it something that's just a lot of political hot air that needs to be cleared out?
I think no. There is so I think Kyrie is on the ball to say that the data, is owned by the government, right? And the government was aware of this from the beginning, and that's why there was also NDA signed, right? And there were very strict conditions. Although it was a CSR initiative, they say, hey, the data has to sit with MOH, and because there are actually government regulations also that say that when it's health data, it has to sit with MOH. And I know KPIsoft had got no issues with that. Okay, they were just there trying to, at that point, it was like crisis situation, right? They just wanted to help out. So obviously, with me having had 1 or 2 or 3 conversations with the MySejahtera founder, right, Ravee, and also with some of his founders. So you know a lot more about the background that has happened, but the background that has happened, a lot of it is plodding and factual and detailed. But who's interested in that when you've got this news of a shareholder dispute that has gone to court? You've got 300-something million ringgit, and then people say, "Wow, government paying 300 million." So Kyrie keeps getting asked, "Have we paid them? Have we paid them?" And he said, "No, we have not paid them a cent." And I can assure you, the government has not paid these folks a cent, right? And I can tell you that this shareholder dispute is also linked to the fact that the shareholders are telling Ravee, "Hey, what the hell is going on, right? How come the government is not paying you for your product that they use and they acknowledge it's a very good product? That App Any, right? That company that tracks data usage of apps has certified that MySejahtera is the world's most used, right, pandemic management app out there on the planet, right? This is not the Southeast Asia's most used, or it's not developing world or emerging economies, but this is the whole world, right? It is the most active, it is the most well-used app. So there must be merit to the app, right? And its robustness also. And I think KJ shared that, right? Our National Cyber Security Agency is conducting regular security audits every month. I didn't know it's monthly audit, and penetration tests also, and even Mampu is involved. He didn't mention Mampu, but way back then when the app was ready on April 1st, it was actually done a soft launch. April 1st, 2020, soft launch was done on the Play Store, not on the App Store yet, because they just wanted to put it out there. And Mampu and Naxa were already aggressively stress testing the app to make sure it works. And then only they announced on April 20, hey, everyone is advised to download it. There was a robust process involved in stress testing the app and in making sure that they ended up giving it to the right company also. So and they thought it was good, and the app has proven. I think KPIsoft or MySejahtera or Entomo, whichever 3 names you use, they have proven that the app is very good. It's solid. But I think the concerns are with that. Hey, and you got Tan Sri Shahril right now. Suddenly Sapura, hey, why are these corporate figures involved? There must be big money to be made for them to come into the picture now. So I agree that has made people a bit more upset and anxious. And that's why Kyrie had to come on and say, look, we have not paid anyone yet. And the data is ours. And by the way, I think DNA carried a story by an executive who had spent a decade at MDEC, evaluating MDEC, a technically educated graduate, and he would say, hey, I'm a Cambridge educated guy, right? So I've done my due diligence also, and hey, this similar app, he said, a company that builds mobile banking apps told him that they could build an app, right, with the same functionalities of MySejahtera, and this was from like 6 months ago, right? And they said they could build it for like just under 400,000 US dollars. This is, by the way, just building the app, right? Of course, building the app is nothing. Then you've got maintenance and management, right? And upkeep of the app. And that's where the cost comes in. And there's also that when the app has proven its value, of course, then as the entrepreneurs, right, they say, hey, we've given it for free for 1 year. We want to, now take on a cost. All that are commercial discussions that the government is having now under the glare of this public spotlight, which I think is very good. Let them now work out a number that is win-win for both parties, for three parties, for the government, for MySejahtera, Sdn Bhd / Entomo Malaysia, and for the public via social media, right? So you got to now make three key parties happy and let them work it out. There's no loss. But to assure you all that I think the data is being protected. I think although this Ravee Lingam, right, who wrote the piece on DNA, is concerned that what proof do we have, right, that the data is fully with the government, because it's managed by the technical experts at MySejahtera. What if they created a copy, right, of the data, whereas the government doesn't know? I agree that it could be done by even rogue characters. I don't think the leadership of MySejahtera would condone that, because MySejahtera, KPIsoft was the company at first, right? Just the app was called MySejahtera. KPIsoft, hear this, right? It's a company that had raised on merit, right, from its existing businesses, $25 million US from venture capitalists.
So this was before MySejahtera.
Yeah, before MySejahtera. So subsequently, I think they raised another $8 million US. But you are not a yesterday company or a $2 company or a crony company that can raise $25 million US from the market, from hardcore venture capitalists who look at your performance and think you can create a strong a niche for yourself in the enterprise market, because it's not a consumer product, it's an enterprise play. So I think we got to give some credit to the government. They knew what they were doing. And I think KPIsoft, at that point, and then it changed its name to Entomo. By the way, the word Entomo is because enterprise of tomorrow. So they're thinking that a lot more things can be done in that process. They changed the name because it had nothing to do with MySejahtera. So the MySejahtera carve-out came because there was a suggestion, even from the government, can you carve out MySejahtera so that it becomes a standalone thing, and which is what they're doing now. But the shareholder thing, with it being parked under another company, I agree. I think the timing is unfortunate, but you cannot stop companies from doing their corporate maneuvering because it's their business end, right? You still got your client here. Your client, it doesn't affect you servicing your client. So whatever they want to do is fine, but it has come out in the public glare. And I'm hoping that the Entomo team, comes out with a clear the air press conference, next week maybe, and let everyone shoot their questions on them and let them explain things, because there is a solid logical explanation of many things they've done. It will assuage people's concerns. So anything else, Dzof? And by the way, it's important, KG said that the price that's being negotiated for them to pay is far less than the 300 million market price. I think used 300 million because there was a shareholder agreement that they say, hey, they're selling it. They gave the IP rights and intellectual property rights, right, to MySejahtera, Sdn Bhd for around that amount of money. So I can understand why people are concerned, and everybody and their grandmother is putting an opinion in on Twitter, on LinkedIn, or Facebook, and writing letters to the editor, which one DNA has run already.
I mean, if I was going to write a story about this, it would be the fact that there seems to be about maybe 3, 4, 5 different issues in the air right now. And the way it works is you put it all into a sausage maker and you turn the handle, and then what comes out is this mess. It's like I think very little of the discussion I've seen is been focused on well, there's one issue, right? So I guess in PR speak is there should be some key messages, and it's still not clear what the key messages are. I think that's if you're saying this. But the two things I would say about it is, one, I hope that media and people who speak about it understand that there's a difference between an application and what you produce using the application. And to me, they're clearly two different things, and you can talk about them as two different things, and you can even talk like about purchase of rights or licenses of them as two separate things. I think that's the first thing. And I think the second thing that I hope people understand is that while, and you've mentioned this, it's possible for somebody to make a copy of, let's say, data, for example, right? And do it in the process, or have a backdoor in your application so that you can do devious, nefarious things with the application, right? It doesn't necessarily invalidate the rights of your, in this case, the government, to do something about it. So yes, I build you a car, I'm a mechanic, I fix the car, you pay for the fact that I fix and maintain the car. Yes, I could put something horrible in the car to make the car fly off the road, but it doesn't mean that that there's no recourse to do something. So that's how I look at it.
So anyway, look,
that's all I want to say about it.
Because we are almost at the 28-minute mark, so I think we cannot do a quick 30-second recap. We'll talk about some of the other stories next week, right?
Yes. Okay. All right.
It's almost going to be a 30-minute show, and we always want to try to end it 20 minutes. But this week, just from these two stories, there was a lot to unpack. So we thought, we would give them all their worth. So with that, wish all of you a productive and good week ahead. And we'll see you again for the next episode of Nadi Digital Economy Malaysia.
Okay, bye.
Cheers off, man. 28 minutes or 27 minutes, cannot already.